Welcome to the last episode of Liberty Unlocked and the first episode of the Watkins Show. I want to explain a little bit about the name change and talk about what you can expect going forward. For many of you, this won't come as a complete surprise because you are wisely subscribed to my newsletter, and if you're not, you can do so at donswriting.com. Now, this show started out, and all my work over the last 6 or 7 months has been mainly focused on the issue of persuasion and communication, particularly in the area of politics, and how to make an effective pro-freedom movement. And I'm not abandoning that completely, but even if you just looked at this podcast, I think it's very clear, and it's been very clear for a long time, that the real purpose or the area that I wanted to explore was much wider than just the issues of politics, communication, and persuasion. And whether it was art, philosophy, sometimes entertainment, friendship, like there's just a whole lot of issues that I wanted to cover. And so just for that reason alone, I think there had to be a name change at some point. And as I was thinking about what I wanted out of 2021, a major component of what's happening in my world next year is that I'll be releasing my novel. And that novel's a thriller, but it's a thriller that engages deeply with ideas. And I had to really think about, is this kind of a diversion and a side gig, or do I really want to integrate everything I'm doing around what drove me to write the novel in the first place? And though I continue to be interested in persuasion and communication, and though I like solving the problems of communicating on political ideas, my genuine passion has always been philosophy. And as I've told some of you guys, my favorite thing over the last 6 or 7 months that I've been doing have been the series on Leonard Peikoff's book, Objectivism, the Philosophy of Ayn Rand. And so what I really want to do is do a lot more content on art and philosophy as means to living a meaningful, joyous life. I think there's a lot of unexplored territory there. I think it'll be really interesting to try to apply the concepts I've talked about and have spent over a decade really refining in the realm of more political issues into more moral and aesthetic issues. So there's a lot of good stuff coming that way. Don't worry. Again, we're not going to abandon social commentary. We're not going to abandon an investigation about how to be great communicators and effective persuaders. But the landscape is going to get wider, and that's not necessarily going to be my main focus in this podcast or in the other kind of content I'm planning on creating. I'll have more to say about some of that content going forward. The main thing is going to be a new newsletter, which is not going to erase the free one that you have access to, but that one will ultimately be paid, though not at first. And that's where I think you'll get a lot of the new kind of commentary that I'm after. This podcast I don't think will change as much because, as I said, we've already really moved outside the confines of its former title. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. And hold on, there's one really important part that I wanted to mention, which is that the logo is very kindly designed for free by Graham Clark, thanks to another one of our listeners, Russell Watkins, no relation. And if you like it, which I really love it, you can get in contact with him at he runs Clark Design and Marketing, and you can reach him at clarkdesign@xtra.co.nz. So a big shout out to him, and a big shout out to everybody who's listened so far. The feedback has been really encouraging. One of the most surprising things to me has been how much interest there's been in me interviewing people that you guys have never heard of before. And that's certainly been a pleasure of mine, particularly bringing on friends, people I've known a long time and I think are doing incredible work and are really interesting thinkers, but who maybe, aren't notorious. And I think, if you're trying to plan the most successful podcast on earth, that's maybe not the smartest move. But what I'm really trying to do here is create a world of content that I want to see exist that doesn't exist. And so, yeah, there's a lot of interesting thinkers out there who have, followings of 100,000 people or 1 million people. And have no opposition to having people like that on occasionally. And of course, I have had a few people like that on before, but for the most part, you can hear them do their thing in many other places. And I really want to expose people that you've never heard of and conversations that you haven't heard before. And so that's what I'm going to continue doing. It's really primarily for me having interesting conversations that I might not get to have otherwise, but hopefully there's some ancillary benefits. So yeah, thank you all for listening. Thank you for the feedback. And I really look forward to what's coming next. I think now having the permission to be openly experimental and not tied down to any specific identity for the show should be really fun. So with that, I hope everybody enjoys their December. I may sneak in an episode before we close out the month, but I'm really trying to get things in place so that we can hit 2021 running. So with that, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that bell so you don't miss a single episode. And as I mentioned before, if you want to stay in contact, the best way is to go to donswriting.com and sign up for the newsletter. Talk soon.